The first spotlight. Amanda Carter straightened the lapels of her navy blazer, gazing at her reflection in the polished glass wall of the Carter and Healy Law Group. At just 32, Amanda had become the rising star everyone whispered about, an associate with courtroom charisma, unbendable morals, and a knack for untangling even the most snarled cases. She strode through the marbled lobby, briefcase in hand, heels clicking with the brisk confidence she'd spent years cultivating. New York pulsed outside the floor-to-ceiling windows. The city's simmering energy was both intimidating and addictive. Amanda thrived on it. As she reached her corner office, Amanda caught a glimpse of Lucas Pierce already waiting inside, reclining in her guest chair as if it belonged to him. Lucas, tall, sharply dressed, with a predatory smile, always seemed to hover where he wasn't invited. For the firm's golden boy, lines blurred between charm and rivalry. "Amanda, we're officially tag-teaming the Maxon Pharmaceuticals case," Lucas declared, sliding a thick manila folder across her desk. "Just got the green light from the partners. Big stakes, lots of eyes on us." He watched her, his gaze assessing. Amanda felt the silent challenge in the air, as palpable as the city skyline behind them. She took the folder, forcing a polite nod. "It's a career maker. Or breaker." Lucas smirked. "Guess we'll see which." Amanda dropped into her chair, flipping through the case file, already scanning for angles, inconsistencies, opportunities. A flicker of nerves ran through her, but she buried it beneath her usual professional calm. For years, she'd clawed her way through sexism, microaggressions, and old boys club politics, building a reputation on integrity and grit. But with the Maxon case on the table, everything she'd fought for was now on the line. An email notification flashed across her phone. "Staff meeting, Maxon Pharma, 10 a.m. Partners, associates, paralegals, everyone who mattered would be there." Amanda drew a steadying breath, fingers tightening around her coffee mug. There would be no margin for error. She looked up, meeting Lucas's gaze. The game had begun. Peace disrupted. Amanda barely remembered the elevator ride down to the conference center, her mind already circa firm. Her own people, supposedly. As the meeting began, she found herself glued to the details. Maxon Pharmaceuticals, a massive class-action suit centering on dangerous side effects, billions in liability, fierce media scrutiny. The stakes were Everest high. The fallout potentially catastrophic. Amanda was assigned part of the legal research, but Lucas commandeered the opening statement preparation, a coveted role, the key to public recognition. After the meeting, Amanda's best friend Destiny, a fellow associate, practical and quietly formidable, sidled up beside her in the hallway. "Watch your back with Lucas," Destiny murmured, eyes flicking toward where Lucas was hustling with the partners. His last co-counsel in a big case ended up reassigned after he lost key paperwork. Coincidence? I doubt it. Amanda smiled, attempting bravado. "I can handle Lucas." "Just remember," Destiny said, "he plays for keeps, and he plays dirty." That evening, Amanda sat across from her boyfriend, Ethan, in a cozy Brooklyn bistro. Candlelight flickered across his earnest face as she unloaded the day's events, omitting none of her worries about Lucas. Ethan reached for her hand. "You're better than him, you know that. Don't let him trip you up." Amanda nodded, but doubt needled her. She'd always trusted the power of hard work and truth, but something about Lucas, the way he moved so easily through the office, gathering allies with those gleaming smiles, felt dangerously effortless. Lying awake that night, Amanda stared at the city lights bleeding through her curtains and replayed every word, every glance from the day. For the first time in years, she felt a quiet, unfamiliar sense of threat beneath the surface of her ambition. Tomorrow, the campaign would begin in earnest. Amanda resolved she wouldn't be the next casualty of ambition. She would fight, harder and smarter than ever before. The first trap. The law office had a strange hush in the early morning when the sun barely crept between Manhattan. Nodded, but as the meeting wore on, Amanda sensed his impatience. He scrolled through documents half-heartedly, interrupted with dismissive remarks, and scrolled on his phone when he thought she wasn't watching. As she explained her research, his eyes glazed. Any idea she floated met with only lukewarm approval. When Amanda referenced a crucial deposition, one she'd flagged as a possible smoking gun, Lucas's brow creased. "I didn't see that file in the shared drive," he said, brows raised in feigned confusion. "Are you sure it's there?" "Positive," Amanda replied, pulling it up on her own laptop with a few quick clicks. Her confidence faded when the folder opened, empty. The subfolder she'd created a week before had vanished. "I swear it was just here," she muttered, fingers flying over the keyboard. Panic prickled at her skin. Had she mislabeled it, saved it somewhere else? Lucas leaned in. "Don't stress, you're probably tired. Double-check your emails this morning. Sometimes things get lost." But his tone was too smooth, too practiced. After the meeting, Amanda scoured every digital corner, email, cloud drive, even the office server, searching for her work. No sign of the file. Worse still, several other research notes appeared altered or missing entirely. Before noon, she was summoned to the partner's office. Her heart thudded as she entered to find 3 stone-faced senior attorneys waiting. "We have concerns about the missing research documents, Amanda," one partner said. "Without the deposition analysis, our pre-trial motion is severely compromised. We understand you were responsible?" Amanda's throat tightened. "Yes, but I've been organizing all the files. Something's wrong." The partners exchanged glances. "We need solutions, not excuses," another interrupted. Leaving the partner's office, Amanda burned with humiliation and anger. Lucas was nowhere to be found, though his coffee cup still steamed on his desk. An unthreatened, silent witness. That afternoon, Lucas breezed by her desk, voice lowered. "Tough break, Amanda. You need a better file system." Then, with Lucas and the partners for a review of the Maxon case's next steps. The air inside the glass conference room was thin and merciless. Lucas took the floor, presenting his research and neatly outlined arguments with the cool confidence of an actor born for the spotlight. Slides flicked by, charts and citations flowing with practiced ease. When Amanda's turn came, the moment should have been hers. She'd worked tirelessly on the initial research, shaping the team's entire strategy. But now, her notes were incomplete, critical documents missing, conclusions unsupported. When she offered her analysis, a stony silence greeted her. One partner tapped impatiently on the table. Lucas cleared his throat. "Unfortunately, Amanda's portion was impacted by the missing deposition files. I had to make up for some gaps this morning." Amanda's face burned. She tried to protest, explaining about the disappeared files, but saw only skepticism. Lucas's calm, reasonable voice overpowering her objections. After the meeting, Destiny caught her in the hall. "This isn't right, Mandy," she said quietly. "You said you saved those files, right? You're sure?" "Yes," Amanda whispered fiercely, willing herself not to cry. "Someone tampered with them. I know it." Destiny's mouth pressed into a grim line. "You have to protect yourself. Back everything up. Trust no one." But it was too late. That evening, she received a formal memo from HR. Subject: Notice of disciplinary review, professional negligence. The language was dry, official, and devastating. With the firm's reputation tied up in the Maxon case, the partners were considering her removal from the team, possibly even suspension pending investigation. Amanda walked home through the autumn dusk, the city both familiar and suddenly hostile. She wanted to call Ethan, but the words jammed in her throat. Is he going to see me as a failure too? The next morning, her story hit the industry legal blogs. Major stumble at Carter and Healy. Up-and-comer Amanda Carter fumbles key pharma case. The press was merciless. The whispers in the hallway turned to pointed outside her apartment window. Everything she'd worked for felt like it was slipping through her fingers. Her career, her reputation, the carefully constructed identity of the ambitious, ethical lawyer in high heels. She tried, at first, to keep up appearances at the office, but the looks had changed. People averted their eyes when she entered the break room. Conversations stopped in the elevator. Partners she'd once shared jokes with now nodded coldly or not at all. Even Destiny, her closest friend, already stretched thin by her own workload and fear of guilt by association, texted more often than she talked face to face. Hang in there, Mandy. One message read. It's just a bad phase. Amanda appreciated the words, but she could sense Destiny withdrawing, protecting herself. The formal investigation was swift. Amanda sat through hours of meetings with human resources and grim-faced partners. Every question felt like an accusation. Did you know your files were missing before the review? Do you have any proof? Is it possible this was simple negligence? Amanda's answer sounded thin, even in her own ears. She wasn't a liar, but she had no evidence, no emails, no digital footprints, nothing to confirm her version of events. Ethan tried to comfort her. He surprised her with takeout, listened to her rant, assured her that one setback wouldn't define her life. But Amanda felt the shift in this patience, a subtle tightening of his jaw when she brought up the firm. He loved her, but he didn't understand. And some nights she pushed him away, not wanting him to see her anger or shame. One afternoon, Amanda left work early, under the pretense of a sudden migraine, and wandered Central Park. She sat on a damp bench near the reservoir, eyes stinging with unshed tears. She thought back to her law school days, the late nights studying case law, her dream of being a force for good. She remembered her father's pride in her ambition, her mother's gentle reminders not to lose herself to cynicism, and she felt, acutely, how far she'd fallen from those ideals. It was on that bench, as dusk rolled in and the cold bit at her cheeks, that Amanda's phone buzzed. A message from Rachel Kim, a former colleague now working legal aid, appeared. I heard about what happened. Coffee? No judgment, just talk. Window. A woman drawn and tired, far from the composed professional she'd once known. Still, she pushed open the door. The aroma of brewing coffee brought a hint of comfort, and tucked in a corner was Rachel Kim, waving her over with a reassuring grin. Rachel stood to greet her, the hug lingering just a little longer than mere politeness. There was an honesty to Rachel that Amanda had always admired, blunt, but somehow gentle, too. You look like hell, Mandy, Rachel said, squeezing Amanda's hands. But you're here, and that's what matters. As they sank into their corner booth, Rachel listened while Amanda unspooled her story, from the missing files to the disciplinary review to the suffocating suspicion at work. Rachel asked the right questions, nodded at the right moments, and when Amanda's voice faltered, she simply waited. For the first time in weeks, Amanda felt less alone. Rachel reached for Amanda's nervously twisting hands. Listen to me. Firms like Carter and Healy, all the big players, they live on power games. But you're not crazy. I've seen these setups before. If Lucas really sabotaged those files, there has to be a trail. People like him get sloppy when they think they've won. Amanda frowned. I checked everything. The cloud, local drives, emails. He covered his tracks. Rachel gave a knowing smile. You sure about that? You ever see one of those metadata harvesters in action? I picked one up when that insurance company tried to frame my client last year. If your files were altered or deleted, someone left digital fingerprints. All you need is the right tool and a reason to look. 1,000 objections sprang to Amanda's lips, but she swallowed them. Instead, she asked, voice barely above a whisper, "Would you help me?" Rachel squeezed her hand again. Of course, but it has to be discreet, and you'll need to keep calm at work. Play along, leave no trace that you suspect anything. Let me handle the tech side. A fragile hope began to kindle. What if I take this to HR or the partners? Rachel's face hardened. Not yet. Not until we have proof. If Lucas is as morning, she put on her sharpest suit, steeled her shoulders, and stepped into Carter and Healy as though nothing was wrong. She smiled when expected, took notes at meetings, and bit her tongue whenever Lucas offered a patronizing comment. She was an actress now. Her survival dependent on the illusion that she was already defeated. In the evenings, Amanda turned detective. She met Rachel in a quiet workroom at her legal aid clinic, late enough that most of the other attorneys had already gone home. Rachel's laptop hummed with specialized software Amanda didn't understand. Her own hand shook as she handed over the files she'd retrieved from her home hard drive, the last backup she dared to keep despite the firm's cloud protocols. Rachel got to work, fingers dancing over the keyboard, while Amanda hovered anxiously nearby. "Look at this," Rachel murmured, pulling up the properties for a Word document Amanda had last edited 2 weeks ago. "You see, is a record of who accessed it, what accounts logged changes, and timestamps for every deletion or save." Amanda leaned in, heart thudding. Whose account touched it last? Rachel zoomed in on the digital trail, her eyes narrowed. "That's odd," she whispered. "According to this, someone logged in using your credentials from an office terminal at 10:42 p.m. last Tuesday." Amanda clenched her fists. "I was at home by then. I have photos Ethan took of us at a movie that same night. I wasn't anywhere near the office." Rachel nodded, undeterred. "Now we cross-reference with the building's security logs. Does your firm keep those on paper or digital?" "Digital. There's a scam card entry at the lobby desk," Amanda replied, recalling the glass turnstiles every employee had to badge through. "Perfect. If we can get even a peek, we'll know who entered, or if your card was cloned or stolen." Amanda stared at Rachel, a surge of hope welling up. For so long she had felt powerless, but now she was piecing together a story, her real story, and it was written in code no saboteur could fully erase. Late that night, Amanda sent Destiny a cautious, encrypted message from her personal phone. "Need a huge favor. Can you quietly check Tuesday's lobby logs for my card? Promise how..." Rachel grinned fiercely. "We have what we need. Let's make sure the world knows the truth." For the first time in weeks, Amanda fell into a deep, dreamless sleep. No longer a victim, but a warrior, armor shining in the darkness, ready to reclaim her future. Amanda arrived early at the office, her nerves taut as piano wire. The city outside was still waking up, streetlights flickering as the sun stained the windows gold. Today was the day. She wore her confidence like a shield, a crisp black suit, subtle makeup, a measured smile. Her evidence, copies of security logs, digital forensics reports, and Destiny's annotated screenshots, sat neatly organized in her bag. No one would believe her on faith. She needed every weapon at her disposal. By 10, she had requested a meeting with senior partner Evelyn Grant, the firm's most respected leader. The call had barely ended before Amanda was summoned upstairs. The walk to Evelyn's mahogany-walled office felt like a trip through enemy territory, colleagues whispering under their breath, Lucas offering a smug, unreadable grin from his glass-walled office. Inside, Evelyn sat behind her imposing desk. Lucas was already there, playing the part of the patient problem-solver, hands folded, brow furrowed in false concern. "Amanda," Evelyn said, "you said you had new information about the Maxon case?" Amanda nodded, her hands steady. "Thank you for your time. I'd like to submit new evidence regarding the missing case files and the circumstances under which they were deleted." She laid out each document with care. The security log showing her entry badge used when she wasn't present. The time-stamped photo of her at the movies. The IT-generated report indicating remote deletion by her account, but from an office terminal hours after she had left. And finally, Destiny's still image. Lucas in Amanda's navy coat, his features data, dates, and Destiny's hard-earned truth. At last, Lucas was escorted out, pale and silent. A man who had bet everything and lost, undone by his own arrogance. Evelyn turned to Amanda, her tone softer. "You shouldn't have had to fight this alone. I apologize. You have our support from this moment forward." Amanda gathered her papers, her spine straightening, the weight of weeks lifting at last. Destiny sent a discreet thumbs up through the glass, grinning as she passed the office. She didn't celebrate, not yet. But as Amanda stepped outside, the sun was higher, the sky a bright September blue. She turned her face to the warmth, letting it linger, remembering how it felt to win not just victory, but vindication. And deep inside, where her hope had nearly been snuffed out, she felt something bloom again. New beginnings. It was over. The ordeal that had threatened to break Amanda's spirit finally dissolved into the past, though echoes of it still haunted the corners of her mind. For the first time in weeks, she arrived at Carter and Healy greeted not with suspicion, but with genuine respect. Some colleagues stopped her in the hall, quietly offering congratulations under their breath, and Destiny hugged her so fiercely at the coffee machine that Amanda nearly spilled her drink. The day after Lucas's dismissal, Amanda was called to another meeting with Evelyn Grant. This time, Evelyn smiled as she gestured Amanda into a seat. "I want to thank you," Evelyn said. "You demonstrated extraordinary integrity and tenacity, qualities we value more than any single case result. I was wondering if you'd be interested in joining the firm's ethics committee. We could use your insight." Amanda stared, almost too stunned to reply. The idea of being trusted, of being asked to help shape the culture of the very place where she had so recently felt betrayed, was dizzying. "I'd be honored, Ms. Grant." Evelyn's smile warmed. "Good. And Amanda, take a long weekend. You've earned it." Leaving Evelyn's office, Amanda floated through the halls. The world she'd fought so hard not to lose was hers again, maybe even more than before. She spent the weekend with Ethan. They walked hand in city. She opened her laptop, not to answer emails or proof a contract, but to start her own journal. The first entry was a letter to her future self. "You will be tested, but you will not give up. You will become stronger, and you will help others too. This is only the beginning." Amanda closed her eyes and let the quiet fill her. The future, for once, felt like a promise, one she was finally ready to claim. Full circle. Autumn settled gracefully over New York, striping the city parks with amber and gold. Weeks had passed since Lucas's unraveling, yet Amanda felt as if her world was only just starting to mend, the scars of betrayal fading into reminders of her own resilience. Back at Carter and Healy, Amanda's role on the ethics committee turned out to be far more than a symbolic title. She dove into the work, reviewing policies with a sharp eye, interviewing colleagues about their everyday challenges, and even leading a seminar on digital security, her own bruising experience lending weight to every word she spoke. Formerly wary associates now sought her out for guidance, and younger attorneys, inspired by her courage, started to believe that honesty could actually thrive within the glass towers of corporate law. At home, Amanda rediscovered small joys. She and Ethan made time for evening dinners, sometimes at candlelit restaurants, sometimes in the cozy mess of their apartment, filling the kitchen with laughter and the aroma of roasted garlic. On Saturdays, she volunteered beside Rachel at the legal aid clinic, meeting clients whose struggles dwarfed her own. Their determination gave her new perspective, humbling her strength and fueling a deeper purpose. One sunny afternoon, Amanda found herself walking through Central Park with Destiny. The park was lively with families and street performers, leaves swirling beneath their feet. Amanda inhaled crisp air, savoring the sense of freedom. "Think you'll ever leave the firm?" Destiny asked, bumping Amanda playfully with her shoulder. Amanda smiled, considering it. How just weeks ago, leaving seemed not just likely but inevitable. "Maybe someday," she admitted, "but not yet. There's work left to do. People who need someone." Her desk drawer, rereading her message to herself. This is only the beginning. She picked up her pen, drew a deep breath, and began her next chapter, not just in the journal, but in life. Horizons unfolding. A soft snow dusted the city, turning rooftops and sidewalks white beneath the midnight sky. Amanda sat by her window, watching each flake dissolve on the glass. Ordinarily, winter brought her a gentle melancholy, an ache for warmth and reassurance that things would bloom again. But this season felt different. There was something new stirring inside her. Hope, unburdened and quietly bright. Her days had never been busier. As head of the firm's ethics committee, Amanda balanced meetings, investigations, and training seminars, championing transparency and fairness wherever she could. Her schedule overflowed, but it was the invigorating kind of full. The kind that left her racing to keep up but never wanting to slow down. One Thursday, she was asked to speak at a citywide legal symposium. Standing backstage, Amanda steadied her breathing, recalling all the times she'd doubted her own voice. When her name was called, she walked to the podium beneath a halo of white light, surveying the faces of 100 young attorneys, their expressions ranging from wary to inspired. She spoke not in legalese, but from the heart, about justice, courage, and what it truly meant to hold power responsibly. She spoke about setbacks, betrayals, and the long road back. The questions that followed were earnest, the applause genuine. Amanda left the stage feeling lighter, as if she'd shed the last of her self-doubt. Outside the lecture hall, a young law student caught up with her. "Your story, it made me believe I could make a difference, even if it's just a small one." Amanda smiled, the words touching something deep inside her. Every difference starts small, but if you stand firm, it echoes outwards. Weekends became a haven again, reserved for Ethan, for brunches at sunlit cafes, slow strolls through the Met, and gatherings with Rachel and Destiny that stretched late into gazed out at the city lights. The world was vast and shining, beckoning her forward. Her future, once so uncertain, now shimmered with endless possibilities. Tides of change spring tiptoed into New York with a hush and a promise. Pale yellow crocuses along the sidewalk, new leaves trembling in hidden courtyards, and the scent of rain lingering on the morning air. Amanda felt herself awakening alongside the city, her energy returning after the quiet rest of winter. At Carter and Healy, Amanda's role continued to evolve. The Ethics Committee, which once required stubborn efforts simply to be heard, was now central to the firm's work. Amanda led small teams who dug into hard cases, not just to minimize risk, but to set higher standards. When a junior associate reported a respected partner for subtle discrimination, Amanda steered the firm through the painful self-examination that followed. She met with the entire office, listened to stories that had once been bottled up by fear, and fought for reforms that would outlast her. With each battle, Amanda's name spread, first as a fixer, then as a leader, then as a visionary. She received invitations to join city panels studying legal reform, guest lectured in local law schools, and found herself mentoring a new generation of lawyers who, like her once, were ambitious but uncertain. Yet even as her world grew bigger, Amanda worked to keep her life grounded and real. She cherished Wednesday nights with Ethan, laughter over takeout dinners, quiet conversations on their little balcony, dreaming about the future together. On Saturdays, she joined Rachel in the clinic, helping people who could not afford the law. Each case, whether big or small, reminded her that everyone deserved a fair fight. One afternoon, Amanda sat in the park, a folder full of committee notes in her lap, waiting for Destiny. The breeze was light, birds flitted among budding branches, and a carousel spun nearby, sparkling. Destiny arrived breathless, her cheeks flushed, refusal to fade. The city outside her window glowed, full of possibility. Amanda closed her journal, heart steady, eyes bright. The tides were changing, in her life and far beyond.